Oh, welcome back, my silent kings and queens. Every doubt they threw became the foundation beneath your feet. It's strange, isn't it? The silence after everything burns down. The calm that follows the years of noise. The whispers. The laughter that wasn't laughter at all. It was doubt, disguised as amusement. You remember it clearly, don't you? The way they looked at you when you spoke about your vision. That small smirk they couldn't hide. The glance they exchanged like they were watching someone dream. Too big for his own good, but now, the silence is yours. The air bends different around you. It's the kind of quiet that hums, heavy with meaning. You don't chase conversations anymore. You don't explain yourself anymore. You simply exist, and that alone disturbs them, because your existence is the proof they tried to bury. Your peace is the sound of their failure echoing back in slow motion. They thought doubt was poison, but for you, it was fuel. You swallowed every sneer, every underestimation, every careless word they tossed your way, and you turned it into strategy, into discipline, into a ritual. While they were busy talking, you were building in silence, brick by unseen brick. You didn't fight them, you didn't argue. You simply became the very thing they said you couldn't. And that's what they can't stand now. That's what keeps them up at night. See, it's not your success that haunts them. It's your silence. It's the way you walk into a room and don't even need to speak. The way you look at the world as if it's already yours. The way you no longer reach for validation because you finally realized something brutal. The people who doubted you were never qualified to judge you. Every empire has its foundation in disbelief. Every throne is built from stones thrown by non-believers. That's the rule no one admits. The same voices that mocked you in the beginning will echo your name in reverence when it's too late. But by then, you won't even be listening. You learned that real revenge isn't confrontation. It's evolution. And evolution doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, like a shadow stretching across the horizon. You used to think you had to prove them wrong. Now you understand. You just had to outgrow their world entirely. And you did. Now when they hear your name, it doesn't sound like a person anymore. It sounds like a prophecy they ignored. You don't speak their names because they don't exist in this new frequency. They belong to the past, a chapter closed, a silence earned. And in that silence, you finally became everything they feared you would be. Doubt. Such a small word, but it carries the weight of worlds. It's invisible until it isn't. You remember how it felt. Not like an insult, but like gravity pressing on your chest. You could see it in their eyes before they ever said a word. That quiet disbelief. The polite nods, the maybe someday smiles. You learned that people rarely tell you directly that they don't believe in you. They show it through absence, through silence, through the way they look past you when you speak. But what they didn't know was that every ounce of their disbelief became part of your foundation. You carried their doubt like bricks, heavy, cold, but useful. You didn't let it bury you. You built with it. You took their hesitation and molded it into precision. Their laughter became your rhythm. Their apathy became your armor. That's how empires are born. Not from applause, but from resistance. You don't learn strength in comfort. You learn it in isolation. In the moments where your name isn't called. Where your effort goes unseen. Where every step feels like walking uphill against wind and memory. You learn to build without witnesses, to move without sound, to become your own proof. They told you to be realistic, but what they meant was, don't grow beyond my imagination. And you didn't argue. You just smiled, because deep down, you knew. Realism is the excuse of the uninspired. You wanted something higher, something irrational, something that didn't need their permission to exist. There were nights when even you questioned yourself, when your hands trembled from exhaustion, and your mind whispered that maybe they were right. But then you'd hear it, that faint echo of their laughter, that one comment that cut deeper than it should have. And suddenly, the fire came back. Not anger, not pride, just focus, pure surgical focus. Every setback became a lesson in disguise. Every failure, a silent rehearsal for greatness. While they waited for validation, you waited for no one. You learned the art of patience without passivity. You understood that sometimes the loudest revenge is consistency. The slow, disciplined, relentless kind that doesn't need an audience. Now the irony burns them. The very things they said disqualified you. Your intensity, your silence, your refusal to fit are the same things that made you unstoppable. You didn't just survive their doubt. You metabolized it, turned it into gold they can't touch. And now, when you walk past them, you don't feel anger. You feel distance, clean, sharp distance. The kind of distance that can't be crossed with apologies or explanations, because you've already moved into a realm where their opinions don't reach. And that's the moment they finally realize their doubt wasn't your curse. It was your blueprint. There's a point where something inside you just switches. It doesn't happen with fireworks. It happens in silence, mid-thought, mid-breath. When you finally understand that no one's coming to save you. No one's meant to see your vision except you. That was the moment your transformation began. Not when you won, but when you stopped needing permission to. You remember it clearly. That night when the noise of the world felt too heavy, when even your own reflection questioned your direction. You stood there, caught between giving up and giving everything. And then you chose everything, quietly, without drama, without witnesses. That's the real beginning of power, the decision that doesn't need to be announced. They said you changed. They were right, but they'll never understand what that change cost. You began trading comfort for clarity, distraction for discipline, validation for solitude. You stopped chasing their attention and started mastering your focus. You became your own teacher, your own competition, your own standard. That's when you began to grow beyond recognition. Not faster, but deeper. While they were busy performing success, you were learning to become it. Every morning became a vow. Every mistake became data. You started seeing patterns in everything. How people move, how they talk, how they hide behind their own fears. You learned that most people don't actually want freedom. They want permission, but you were done asking. You built rituals instead of routines. You trained your mind to see through the fog. You started walking into rooms differently, not seeking approval, but observing. You realized that silence unsettles the insecure. The less you spoke, the more power your presence carried. And as you changed, you noticed something else. The world started to rearrange itself around you. Opportunities that once ignored, you began to appear. People who once dismissed you began to mimic you. But by then, it didn't matter. You weren't doing it for them anymore. You began to understand that transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about shedding everything that isn't truly you. You stopped explaining, stopped overthinking, stopped waiting. You started moving, with purpose, with precision, with a kind of stillness that terrified the chaotic. They used to mistake your kindness for weakness. Now your calm feels like a warning. They can sense it when you walk in, that quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove anything. Because you're not fueled by revenge anymore. You're fueled by awareness. You don't fight for respect. You radiate it. And the ones who once doubted you, they feel it too. Not because you're loud, but because you're undeniable. They see it in your eyes now. That look that says, you've already crossed the line between who you were and who you became. And that realization, that's the first time they ever felt small. There's something eerie about the climb. It's not loud, not glorious, not filled with applause. It's just you and the sound of your own breathing. Every step feels heavier than the last, but that's the weight of transformation pressing against your spine. reshaping you into something unrecognizable. People think the climb is about success. It's not. It's about shedding illusions, peeling away everything fake, everything that doesn't belong. It's about walking through seasons of isolation so long and so quiet that even your own voice starts to sound like a stranger. But that's where the truth lives, in the stillness where no one's watching. They don't talk about that part, do they? The part where your ambition becomes your only company, where your goals don't just drive you, they haunt you, where sleep feels like betrayal because rest doesn't feed the hunger inside your chest. You started to realize that greatness isn't built in sunlight. It's forged in the shadows of repetition, the late nights, the unseen effort, the countless times you could have quit, but didn't. Every brick of your empire was laid in silence. No praise, no recognition, no safety net. Just faith in something only you could see. While they were chasing quick wins, you were building something permanent, something timeless. There were days when the silence felt endless, when it seemed like the universe had forgotten your name, but it hadn't. It was testing how badly you wanted to earn it, because destiny doesn't hand crowns. It hands challenges, and you accepted every single one. You fell, didn't you? More times than you can count, but each time you didn't stay there. You rose differently, sharper, colder, more awake. You began to see that the fall isn't failure, it's calibration. Every setback was data, every delay was refinement, every betrayal was redirection, and while they were busy gossiping about your silence, you were upgrading it into a language of power. You were studying moves, mastering emotions, and learning how to stand still in storms that would have destroyed them. Because that's what the climb teaches. Control, the kind that can't be faked, the kind that terrifies the unsteady. You learned that real strength isn't loud. It's measured. It's not in the strike. It's in the restraint. It's not in proving. It's in knowing. And now, when they look at you, they can't quite place it. They sense the distance. They feel the difference. You move with a calm that feels earned. They whisper, "You've changed." But what they don't understand is, you didn't change. You evolved. You simply outgrew their version of reality. You stopped playing by the rules of small minds. You started listening to something higher, something ancient that speaks in intuition and silence. You climbed not to escape them, but to finally meet yourself at the top. And the view from here, it's not about what you see. It's about what you've become. It always happens the same way. At first, they act like you're invisible, like your silence means defeat. They scroll past your progress, laugh behind closed doors, whisper about how you used to try too hard. But then something shifts. One day they look up and realize the landscape has changed. The world they thought they understood now bends quietly around your presence. They see it in the way people pause when you speak, in the way doors open before you knock, in the way even your stillness demands attention. They can't explain it, they just feel it, and that's when the unease begins. Because deep down, they know the truth. You built this version of yourself without them, without validation, without applause, without needing their name in your story. They start replaying the past, the times they laughed at your ideas, the moments they tried to make you doubt yourself, the way they dismissed your silence as weakness. But now, that same silence haunts them. It's the silence of someone who doesn't need to explain. Someone who's seen the game for what it is. Predictable. They ask, "How did you do it?" But they don't really want the answer. Because the answer is everything they were too afraid to become. They thought your stillness meant surrender. They didn't realize it meant precision. You weren't lost. You were loading. Every quiet moment was a calculation. Every failure, a formula. Every pause, a setup for something greater. And now, you've arrived. You walk through rooms differently now. Not loud, not dramatic, just present. The kind of presence that rearranges the energy. The kind that reminds people how small their noise truly is. They whisper, something's changed about them, but they can't quite name it. They don't realize. You've simply detached from their level. You no longer chase approval. You command respect. You no longer crave validation. You radiate certainty. You no longer argue. You observe. Because when you rise through real pain, real doubt, real solitude, you stop needing to be understood. You just are. And that's what terrifies them most. That you didn't need revenge to win. You didn't need to shout to be heard. You didn't even need to show up to dominate. You became the echo that lingers after the noise fades. The stillness that follows chaos. The calm that can't be touched. Their pride won't let them say it. But deep down, they know. They doubted the very person destiny was sculpting into a force of nature. They built their comfort from your silence. And now your silence has become their discomfort. They see the results, but they'll never see the cost. Because the story they tell about you isn't the one you lived. They just see the final form, not the nights that built it. They see the victory, not the versions of you that had to die quietly for it. And that's okay. They don't need to know, because you didn't rise for them. You rose for something beyond explanation, a pull written into your very being. And now, they can't ignore what's standing before them. You. The proof that silence builds empires louder than noise ever could. You don't even mention them anymore, not because you forgot, but because you evolved beyond the need to remember. Their names used to echo in your mind, like static, like ghosts pulling at your focus. But one morning the echoes stopped, and that's when you realized something. Silence is not absence, it's authority. When you stopped defending yourself, you became untouchable. When you stopped explaining, the world started paying attention. When you stopped fighting for recognition, the universe began aligning everything for you. See, they never understood. You weren't chasing validation. You were chasing vision. You weren't proving them wrong. You were proving your potential right. And the moment you chose that, you left their gravity. Now your name moves differently. It's not shouted, it's whispered. It circulates in conversations you'll never hear. It lingers in rooms you've never entered. People say it carefully, almost reverently. Like a code they're still trying to decipher. And they're still watching, still talking, still trying to define what you've already surpassed. They still use your name for momentum, while you use silence for mastery. Your calm has become their storm, your restraint, their obsession. Every time you don't react, it burns louder than any confrontation could, because your stillness says what words never could. You've already won. You stopped needing their acknowledgement the moment you realized they were never capable of understanding your design. How could they? They live in reaction. You live in reason. They chase applause. You chase alignment. You walk through their noise now like wind through smoke. Untouched, unbothered, unstoppable. And yet, something about your energy unsettles them. Because you remind them of everything they could have been if they hadn't traded their purpose for approval. They watch your moves, trying to decode your silence like it's strategy. But what they don't know, your silence isn't strategy, it's peace. It's the sound of someone who doesn't owe the world an explanation anymore. They see your results and call it luck. They see your grace under pressure and call it arrogance. They see your composure and call it distance, because they can't process what it means to truly arrive. They can't compute a spirit that no longer needs validation, a heart that no longer bleeds for recognition, a mind that no longer reacts to noise. You see, when you rise alone, something shifts in the way you exist. You don't move to impress anymore. You move to express. You don't speak to convince. You speak to connect. You don't chase. You create gravity, and that's what they can't stand. The way your silence rewired reality around you. It wasn't an accident. It was the outcome of every unseen battle, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt turned into direction. Now your silence is the crown they can't steal. Your calm is the fortress they can't enter. Your detachment is the fire they can't extinguish. You've become the equation that their pride can't solve. Because you learned that the loudest revenge is peace. You've outgrown their noise, outpaced their judgment, outlived their narratives. You're no longer part of their story. You're the plot twist they never saw coming. And that's the ultimate victory. Not that you proved them wrong, but that you don't even care to. You've built an empire on energy, not rage, not ego, but purpose. And now, that empire stands silently, glowing in the dark, unbothered, undeniable, eternal. Funny, isn't it? They thought they were tearing you down, but all they did was provide the bricks. Every rumor, every dismissal, every sneer, it all became material. They handed you doubt, and you turned it into discipline. They handed you rejection, and you built resilience. They tried to bury you, and you learned how to grow in darkness. You see, an empire isn't made from applause. It's forged from pressure, and your story, your rise, was never about luck or timing. It was about endurance. You didn't just survive the storm, you learned how to conduct it. They never understood how your silence could hold so much power. They mistook your stillness for surrender. But in truth, your quiet was an operation. While they wasted energy talking, you spent yours transforming. While they built opinions, you built foundations. While they searched for shortcuts, you studied every labyrinth until you became the architect. Now look around. Your work speaks a language no criticism can translate. Your energy has weight, the kind that bends attention without asking for it. People feel it before they see it. That's how empires are built, not through noise, but through undeniable presence. And what's poetic is this: every doubt they planted became a seed in your soil. You didn't fight them, you used them. Their disbelief became your proof. Their hesitation became your momentum. Their resistance became your reflection, showing you just how much strength you actually carried. You were never their enemy. You were their lesson. And lessons don't shout. They echo. They linger. They change people in silence. Now, the same people who underestimated you are trying to replicate your formula. They mimic your tone, your patience, your focus. But it doesn't work. Because what you have can't be copied. It's not technique. It's transformation. It's not style. It's substance. And that's what separates builders from spectators. You didn't climb to be seen. You climbed because staying small was suffocating. You didn't move to prove them wrong. You moved because stillness became too loud. You outgrew their world, and that's why they can't reach you now. And when they speak your name now, it's with hesitation, a quiet reverence mixed with confusion. Because how do you describe someone who turned every scar into strategy? How do you explain someone who mastered the art of moving unseen, but leaving impact everywhere? Your empire wasn't built on revenge. It was built on realization. You realized no one was coming to save you. No one was obligated to understand you. And no one could define your worth but you. That realization burned everything unnecessary away. And in the ashes, something unshakable was born. That's what they feel now. That energy that unsettles them. It's not arrogance. It's arrival. It's the frequency of someone who's done playing small. Your silence has become scripture to those who doubted. Your success, the sermon, and your presence, the proof. Because the empire they thought they could stop was never made of walls or wealth. It was made of will, and willpower, when awakened, becomes something divine. So now, they can talk, they can watch, they can speculate, but deep down, they all know the same thing. Their doubt didn't destroy you. It defined you. It gave birth to something that doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, and doesn't fade. You didn't just build an empire. You became one. There's an unspoken rule that only those who have risen alone understand. The less you say, the louder your existence becomes. You learned it the hard way. There was a time you explained yourself to everyone. You wanted them to understand the vision, to see the fire behind your eyes. But they weren't ready for it. They couldn't comprehend someone who moves from purpose instead of permission. So you went quiet. You stopped revealing your steps. You stopped broadcasting your intentions. And that's when the world began to tilt in your favor, because silence is not the absence of words. It's the presence of control. Every time you held your tongue, you gained leverage. Every time you didn't respond, you grew stronger. Every time you let them think they were ahead, you learned how to move beyond them without ever being seen. And now, they're playing a game whose rules you rewrote while they were still learning the first one. They're trying to guess your next move. But how do you predict someone who no longer moves for validation? Someone who moves like time itself, inevitable and unbothered. You've become a walking paradox, both storm and silence, chaos and clarity. People feel your energy before you speak. Rooms quiet themselves when you enter. Even those who once mocked you now hesitate to make eye contact, because they can feel it, that calm precision, that untouchable rhythm, that quiet dominance that doesn't need recognition. You don't flex power, you embody it. You don't seek attention, you attract alignment, and they still don't understand how. They think it's strategy, but the truth is simpler. You learn when to disappear and when to strike. You stopped wasting your words on people who hear only to reply and started saving your energy for moments that build legacy. See, the greats, the real ones, never announce the shift. They move in silence, they grow in private, and then suddenly, the entire landscape reflects their presence. That's you now. You became the stillness that humbles noise, the calm before a transformation. The proof that those who talk the least often carry the most power. And it's not because you're cold. It's because you're clear. You know what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You know that some battles are won not by fighting, but by walking away and letting your results echo in places your voice never needs to go. You've mastered restraint. And restraint is the purest form of strength. It's knowing you could speak, you could react, you could destroy, but you choose to build instead, quietly, intentionally, unshakably. And the irony? That silence they used to laugh at, it's now the thing they study. They analyze your pauses, your tone, your absence, because your silence says what words can't, that you don't need to prove who you are anymore. Your life already does. You're not just living quietly, you're teaching through stillness. You're reminding them that mastery doesn't roar, it resonates. That power doesn't chase, it draws. That those who control their noise control their world. And now, your silence isn't just discipline. It's language, a language only the evolved can understand. The kind of quiet that doesn't fade when you leave the room. It lingers, so you remain silent, not as an act of distance, but as an act of direction. Because you know, those who move in stillness move forever. And that's why your name, even unspoken, travels farther than their noise ever will. Your silence isn't just peace, it's permanence. And permanence is what they'll never understand. There comes a point when your name no longer needs to be said. It carries its own current. Silent, heavy, alive. It moves through conversations without introduction. It lingers in decisions made behind doors you've never walked through. It's not trending. It's timeless. That's where you are now. You've crossed the invisible line between presence and permanence. You've become the kind of energy that doesn't ask for recognition. It commands it. They don't tag you anymore. They reference you. They don't speak your name loudly. They lower their tone when it's mentioned. Because respect doesn't shout. It hums, and your hum has become the rhythm of inevitability. You no longer exist in their timelines. You exist in their memory. The way you moved, the way you didn't react, the way you made the impossible look quiet. Your silence turned into something cosmic, a mirror that reflects everyone else's truth back at them. And that's why it unsettles people. Your stillness shows them their noise. Your control exposes their chaos. Your peace reminds them how far they still are from it. But you didn't seek that effect. It just happened, naturally, when you stopped moving from emotion and started moving from purpose. When you realized power isn't volume, it's vibration. And your vibration now, it's the sound of a destiny finally awake. You walk differently, not fast, not loud, but with a precision that suggests every step is already known by the universe. You don't look for the light, you bring it. You don't wait for signs. You are one. You don't need to fight for space. Space bends for you. Because when you master your energy, the world recalibrates to it. And that's exactly what happened. The game shifted, the story restructured, the air changed. Now they see you, not as competition, but as confirmation. Confirmation that resilience was real, that silence was strategy, that patience was power disguised as pain, and they can't escape it. Every success they witness of yours becomes a reflection of what they ignored in themselves. Every calm breath you take reminds them how much they traded away chasing noise. You no longer speak their language. You outgrew it. You communicate in silence, presence, and proof. You've reached a level where your name doesn't need a voice. It has gravity. And gravity doesn't explain itself. It simply pulls everything toward it. Now even time seems to bend around your rhythm. Things align faster. Doors open cleaner. People sense something they can't label. They just call it you. But here's the secret. It was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving that silence is not surrender. It's evolution. That real dominance is not about control. It's about flow. That empires don't shout when they rise. They resonate. So now, as your story echoes across places that once dismissed your voice, you just smile, because your silence did what noise never could. It rewrote perception. It built reverence. It birthed something eternal. And the best part? You don't even speak their names anymore. Not out of hatred, not out of pride, but because your story has outgrown the language that once confined it. You became the calm they can't touch, the frequency they can't find, the chapter they can't skip. Their doubt built the foundation. Your faith built the empire, and your silence built forever. So now you just walk, slowly, powerfully, silently, because the world already knows. You don't have to say your name anymore. It's already written everywhere you've ever been.